Welcome back to another episode of the Healing With It podcast. My name is Kirsten. I am your host, and I am so excited to talk to you guys about today's episode and what it entails because it has been highly requested. About a year ago, I did an episode with Dr. Khadija on healing your acne holistically, and at the time, I was in the depths of dealing with my own personal acne journey. And I knew I needed to find ways to support myself, to get out of it and to experiment and even just do things that would help me help patients in the future. And so it was like a 2-year journey and it's still ongoing, I would say. But if you are watching the video format, you can tell like my skin is so much clearer. I'm not wearing any makeup and I do still have some acne scarring, but I have really reduced my acne scarring with some of the tactics and things that I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And so I'm excited to speak to you guys about this and what's worked for me. Obvious disclaimer is that this is what worked for me personally, and we are all individual. And so what works for me might not work for you, but I did want to offer some of my own personal experience as well as the research I did with healing my acne holistically, naturally, without any medications, and what I think caused my acne. And I have a bunch of things that I tested out and tried. So I'm going to tell you what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what I think the cause was. You're going to learn a lot about the acne and my acne journey. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about this today. But first, we have to do the mindful moment of the week. And so this week's mindful moment is surrounding listening to what I need. And this is really pertaining, I guess right now I'm in the depths and midst of wedding venue shopping, and that is really stressful. Obviously, it's a good type of stress, and it's been so much fun, but I'm also learning that it is not easy, and I have trouble making decisions and kind of solidifying decisions, and so it's been a really tough decision, and we are on wedding venue 10. We are going to see 5 more, and so that's going to bring us up to 15 wedding venues, and I feel so extra for that. But nothing has really felt right for me and my fiance. And so it's been so important for us to just communicate and recognize and realize that we just feel like we're compromising too much on some of the other venues we've looked at. And I think it's so okay to do that. And yeah, I'm just kind of leaning into that. So I'm excited to look at more wedding venues, and I'm happy that I listened to myself. And I'm so thankful for my support system who has supported me and just like allowed me to do what I need to do to find that wedding venue, because there's nothing worse than making a decision just because you feel like you have to and then regretting it, especially a decision where you are spending so much money and it's going to be in your memory forever. I just personally feel like it is just such a special and unique thing. So there is no rush at the end of the day. Like, yes, to get a venue and a date, but there should not be like a specific date that you feel like you have to have your wedding venue by if you feel like it just doesn't fit you. So anyways, that is where I'm at right now with everything. And it has just been a whirlwind while I'm also studying for board exams. So there's a lot going on and I have been overwhelmed. So just listening to my needs and my wants and taking care of myself in this time has been a huge mindful moment for me. If you have a mindful moment, make sure to share that with me as well. I would love to hear your mindful moments on Instagram and via email if you want to send it that way. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So I'm going to start with where my acne journey really started. And that was about 2 years ago in January. I was on a round of antibiotics, definitely not my first round. And I think over the years, just being on different rounds of antibiotics for different reasons and being on them as a child for chronic ear infections really just messed up my gut. And I still think I have a long way to go with my gut health. But I think it's important to recognize that it's a journey. And I do think that this specific round of antibiotics, it was a longer term form of antibiotic. So I was taking it twice a week for 12 weeks. And I think this absolutely just wrecked my gut. It wreaked havoc in my body and it showed. And so a lot of times what happens with acne, especially cystic hormonal acne, it's basically a symptom trying to tell you that something is off inside your body. So really, symptoms usually are just your body telling you like something is not right, and this is its way of communicating it. So I knew when I started to see a bunch of acne, I was getting it all up on my forehead, on my cheeks, sometimes on my chin, and on my jawline. And there were so many things I was considering during this time. I was wondering if PCOS was a possibility, if my hormones were off. There were so many questions I had, and it does get frustrating when you are working with functional medicine as well as naturopathic medicine or holistic medicine in general, and you're just not finding the solutions or having the two come together very well. I think integrative wellness is the best, and you're trying to get support with one area and it's causing more issues in another area, and those two areas are not coming together. And so I feel like that's where I kind of struggled as well with this whole acne journey. And yeah, I'm just so glad that I listened to myself. And I know a lot of people often will go to Accutane, which is a specific type of medication that people take for hormonal acne or for cystic acne. And while it can be really helpful for a lot of people, it is also often damaging and can also lead to long-term side effects, as well as you have to be on the oral contraceptive pill to be on it if you are female. And also people come off of it and their acne kind of comes back because it's not treating the root cause of the acne. And so often it is a Band-Aid solution and people deal with the issues later on. So that can also be frustrating. There's no judgment if you feel like that is where you need to go. Absolutely. But I just personally did not want to go there. And I knew there were so many things when it comes to acne that I could do naturally to try to fix it. And so I was really trying to figure out where the root cause was. And I believe it was mainly from that long-term bout of antibiotics. It just caused so much issues in my body. And so I knew that there was some imbalances within my gut that I needed to figure out. And it really continued to get worse through last January 2023, I think is when it hit its peak, through March. If you go back and look at any of my Instagram videos during that time, you can see how bad it was, especially breaking out on my cheeks. My right side was the worst. And honestly, I was so embarrassed. I was very self-conscious. I tried to hide it for the longest time by doing makeup if I was going out anywhere, or putting filters on, or just not showing that part of my face, or showing my face less when I was on Instagram, because I just did not want to show it. I felt so embarrassed, especially being in the naturopathic medical field. Sometimes it feels like embarrassing to deal with these issues and not have a solution, because I feel like there's a pressure of like, well, I'm helping people, so I shouldn't have issues myself. And so this is definitely something that I struggled with, and it was not easy. I will admit, like I did struggle with it quite a bit, but there are many reasons for acne to happen. And so it's important to consult a healthcare practitioner to find what the root cause of your acne is, because without understanding the root cause, you're never really going to be able to fully get rid of your acne. And again, if you go on medication, it's most likely going to come back after you come off that medication. So it's really important to dive into the depths of it if you are looking to like long-term get rid of your acne. And some people are more acne prone. Like personally, I come from a family who cystic acne is very common. A lot of my family members, my cousins, have all dealt with cystic acne. And so it's not super surprising that it happened to me. I think it was just odd, the timing of it as well, because I didn't really deal with any horrible acne issues in high school and grade school. When I was going through puberty, when I was younger, I felt like I would get like the typical breakouts around my period, but I never dealt with cystic acne. So this was something that was new for me. And it's always embarrassing when you are an adult. Like I was 24 through 25 and dealing with acne, and that just feels like embarrassing because you feel like that's something that teenagers should be dealing with. So if you are dealing with adult acne, I feel you. It is not fun, and it can be really stressful and embarrassing. And so I did feel embarrassed. There was definitely a point in time when I was first starting to deal with the acne that I wanted to cover it up. I think I actually remember editing pictures on Instagram to get the acne out because I was so embarrassed. And while I definitely condone supporting and loving yourself in every stage, I was in the depths of it and I did not do that myself. So we all have our moments. I completely understand, again, which is why Instagram and social media and all of that is such a highlight reel. You really never know what people are dealing with, what people look like in person. It is just so different. And so I was even getting breakouts like on my shoulders and such. And yeah, it was just a lot to deal with. And I think a huge change was the mental change that I worked on. Instead of being super embarrassed about my acne, I decided to embrace it, knowing that it was not going to be a long-term issue. I stopped trying to hide it with makeup. I actually stopped wearing makeup most of the time because I didn't want to make it worse. Makeup can sometimes clog your pores, which then just increases the amount of acne and bacteria buildup that's happening, especially if you're not using natural face products. And in general, there are certain ingredients, even in natural products, that are going to be more pore clogging, that are going to increase your likelihood of having a breakout. And so I tried to reduce that as much as possible. That timing was when I was in clinic. And so I was trying to just not wear makeup when I was in clinic, which was sometimes hard because that's when I'm seeing patients and it's embarrassing. But I did my best, and I was starting to post more videos showing myself with the acne, like really actually showing like the side when I had breakouts. So there are a few videos around January through, I want to say March, April, when it was like the worst, and I really just started to embrace it. And honestly, I noticed a huge difference when I stopped suppressing it, because I'm a huge believer in how our emotions and our thoughts impact our actual physical, mental outlook, and are actually how we present ourselves and how we look on the outside. And I think it did actually have a big impact, because I just was not emitting that confidence. And once I started to kind of gain more confidence in myself and accept where I was, knowing that I could see changes, I think I actually noticed a bigger difference that way. And I just felt better and more in control of my body. And I think that was a really important step in this journey. Some things that I did try for the years leading up, like from January 2022 through February 2023. So I started to do acupuncture on myself. I was doing Surround the Dragon, which, if you don't know, is basically when needles are surrounding like in a circular area, like acne, sometimes for scarring, eczema. It's used for a bunch of different things in traditional Chinese medicine and in acupuncture. And so I started to use that on my acne. And I think it did help reduce some of the breakouts, but I don't know if I was doing it enough to really see a difference. And so it did help a little bit, but ultimately it wasn't a root cause solution. And so I was really trying to dig into that and find different solutions. Although I do think that cosmetic acupuncture can be super helpful, but I think it needs to be paired with a bunch of different solutions. Obviously, I tried a lot of different face products, and honestly, like even with natural face products, they just were not helping. This was so stressful for me, because you just hope that if you change your face products, that will help. And while sometimes it can be very helpful, acne, again, is not an external issue necessarily. It's more of an internal issue. Some external factors can definitely make it worse or exacerbate it, but I would not say that acne is usually caused by external factors. A lot of the time, it's an inside issue, and it's just a symptom of whatever is happening inside the body, like I was talking about earlier. And so I tried all those different face products. I even tried The Ordinary products, which a lot of people know about, super cheap, super simple ingredients. And I think they helped a little bit, but they weren't really treating what I needed them to treat. I would probably use them today, but for my like active breakouts, they were not really helping. And then everything external in general, like face masks and trying different things on my skin, like yes, maybe slight differences were made, but it was obviously an internal issue. And so I really started to see drastic changes, I would say March, April of last year, so 2023 and beyond. And it's just continued to get better. And what I think really helped, and this might be controversial for some people, was microneedling. And so I did microneedling. My first session was in January of 2023. And I did have active breakouts. And why I'm saying it's controversial is because some people argue, or there is research to show that it can actually make it worse. And absolutely, like I don't disagree with that at all. And I was worried about that because I just kept having active breakouts. I'm like, how am I ever going to have microneedling if my face is not in active breakouts? But I was assessed, and I was trying my best to find those solutions. So when I was assessed by a practitioner who was doing my microneedling at a medical spa, she was okay with it and allowed me to do it. And honestly, it didn't make things worse. I think things maybe get worse a little bit beforehand, but they definitely got better pretty quickly after about my second and third session. So my second session, I think, was in March, and then I had another one in April. And yeah, they just like continue to get better after that. So I've had 4 or 5 treatments now. After my third treatment, like it was mostly just treating the scarring. So I'm really excited because I just got my microneedling, my 4th or 5th session a couple days ago. And I just got my 4th or 5th session done a couple days ago. And already, like, I know it's helping with the scarring because I was dealing with a lot of the post-acne scarring, because that's an issue. Once you get rid of the acne, is now we have scarring. And so some of these solutions are actually geared towards helping with the scarring, which I'm excited about because I know that is something that people deal with a lot. And microneedling has positive effects up to 6 months after the treatment, which I've noticed because your skin is constantly regenerating, and that's what microneedling helps with. When you get microneedling done, you start to get peeling, like the whole layer of your skin is just like completely coming off, and it just works wonders. So I'm excited to see within the next 6 months what my skin looks like, because honestly, even looking back at my skin in May, yes, it was pretty much acne free, but the scarring, you could really see the acne scars were quite pigmented, and now it's not. So I've done a lot of things to actually help with that. So I'm excited because I feel like a lot of people believe that once you have acne scarring, it's just there forever. And while it depends on the severity, I don't think that's always true. And so another thing that really helped me when it came to skincare is I started using, and this is not sponsored, product called Phyla, Phyla probiotic skincare. And so basically it's a skincare product line, and it's got probiotics. So basically you use their face wash, and it's all like natural based ingredients. And then there's a probiotic serum that you put on after your face wash, morning and night, and that goes in the fridge. So there's probiotics in it because there are specific probiotics that are actually meant to help with skin health. And so our skin is a microorganism. Wherever there's a microorganism, we're going to have bacteria. And so our skin is no different. And then it also comes with a moisturizer. And I am not lying when I say like, this was game changing for me. This product, like I saw a lot of reviews. It was my mom who actually found it online. I was skeptical at first. Like I was like, there's no way this is going to work. But as soon as I started using it, and it was around the time of microneedling as well. So I think like, again, everything has been a combination. Oh my goodness. Like this has just helped immensely with the breakouts, and it's lasted so long. She ordered me 2 sets of the face care routine, and honestly, game changer. Like, it lasts so long. I'm still using it almost a year later, and I just feel like so good in my skin compared to where it was a year ago. And then when it comes to diet, I think diet is always super important when it comes to our skin. Again, that comes down to our gut. So if our gut is not healthy, our skin is going to manifest in that way as well. And so I wanted to do things to support my gut. And again, I am still really working on my gut health, and I'm excited because right now I am still living at home, and I think that does not help me with my eating and dietary habits. So I'm excited to be off on my own again, because I find that when I'm living away independently, I just am a lot healthier because I have more control over what I'm eating, when I'm eating, all of that good stuff. So I'm excited to get back into that routine come May. But what I did do, because I was living away at school at this time, was I increased the amount of colorful veggies that I was consuming throughout the day. I tried to incorporate veggies with my lunch and my dinner and my breakfast, and having different veggies, roasting them, and just like really enjoying incorporating more vegetables into my daily routine, because veggies contain lots of good fiber, which helps with that microbiome in the gut. And so that's going to support the healthy bacteria. It's going to help get rid of the bad bacteria. It's going to help heal the gut. There are so many positive benefits to consuming these probiotics and these fiber-rich fruits and vegetables. And so I definitely incorporated that more into my diet, as well as things like starches and protein. So like a lot of sweet potato. I made sure to have protein with almost every meal. All of these things are really important to just support your overall wellness, your gut health, help with absorption of important nutrients that will help with skin health and overall gut health. And so that's what I did with my diet. And then I also focused on reducing my sugar consumption when I could. I'm still not the best at this, but when I can, I try to avoid having excess sugar. So I'm not consuming ton of sweets every single day. And when I do, I try to pair it with fiber and protein to help with the absorption and the digestion and reduce the spike in my blood sugar. I did try taking myo-inositol because if there is an issue with blood sugar, this can also cause an increase in a spike in our blood sugar. And so I was worried that I was dealing with some blood sugar issues, but I have been tested. I have had blood work done and everything has looked good. So I don't think that was the issue I was dealing with. I also had some hormones tested and my hormones appear to be normal, but I also only got my LH and FSH tested, not my estrogen and not my androgens. And so I think that that is where my next step is, because I do think that has a huge impact on our skin health as well. And so I just did not put in the work to go see a naturopathic doctor myself and pay to get those tests done. But I do think that is the next step in my journey. And then also reducing personal trigger foods. These are foods that I personally know impact me. And I've had food sensitivity testing before, but I also am just very mindful of the foods I'm consuming and how they impact my overall well-being. And often I react to high levels of gluten and high levels of dairy. And so I try to reduce my consumption of these products, especially when it came to foods that contain dairy inside of them. So when I'm having chocolate, trying to have dark chocolate and having no added dairy at all, as well as reduced sugar consumption when you have the darker chocolates and things like that. Just incorporating that into my everyday routine where I could. I think that is just so important, and that really does make such a big difference. And everyone is so different. So I'm not saying every single person should reduce their dairy consumption. It is just more highly associated with acne breakouts, but it is not everybody's trigger. So I don't want you to think that that is going to be, something that you have to remove. I think it's important to do the work to figure out if it is, but I would not say it's the end all be all. So just be mindful of that. And so I just did a lot of work with consuming more, because I always think it's important to incorporate new things in rather than just focusing on taking things out, because that can be even harder. And when we consume new things into our diet, we have less room, less capacity to consume specific things that are more triggering to us. And so that is where I was thriving, I think. And so that is what I did for my diet. And it did make such a big difference. And also I did focus on reducing my consumption of foods before bed. A habit that I got into when I was away at school last year, and for personal comfort, was consuming snacks in bed after like a clinic shift or something like that. And that is kind of a big no-no, because it did impact my sleep. And if we're not sleeping well, that can also impact our skin. And so I definitely had to change that. And it was a comfort thing for sure. I was consuming foods because it made me feel good in the moment. It made me feel comforted when I was living away alone at school, but it was not helpful for my sleep. It was not helpful for my gut. And I think that contributed to maybe some unneeded blood sugar spikes. And so I cut that out as much as possible. And I think that also made a big difference. And then let's now talk about the supplements that I added into my diet. Again, supplements are not always the end all be all, but they can be helpful for specific symptoms. So I started consuming ACEs plus zinc, which is a supplement that contains vitamin A, C, E, and zinc. And zinc has a lot of research for helping with acne and the other vitamins as well. But again, please don't just start consuming supplements just to do so, because certain supplements can be harmful to specific people, like vitamin A and certain dosages during pregnancy can be detrimental, as well as taking vitamin A or beta carotene when you are a smoker has been associated with higher risks of cancer. So again, please, please, please do your research and talk to a health professional before you start taking supplements. These are just what worked for me. And so I started to consume those, and probiotics as well to help with my gut health. And then I removed B12 from my diet. So I was consuming B12 and I actually haven't had it since. And the reason I was taking it was for energy levels. But B12 can actually be a trigger for acne. And so I wanted to remove it. It's not always for everyone, but it can be. And so I wanted to remove it from my diet because I did not want to be increasing the risk of something making my acne worse. I haven't consumed it since, and I would be curious to see if I saw changes in my skin when taking it. I don't know if it actually was a massive contributor to my skin health because it was one of the first things I removed from my diet before I did microneedling, before I did any other supplements, and I didn't see massive differences. So I can't say for sure. I did take that out of my diet, and I would say it's something to consider if you take it and are dealing with acne. But again, be careful because if you are on certain supplements, you are on certain medications, vitamin B12 can be depleted and you might be really low in vitamin B12. So if you're taking it for a specific reason, again, it's always so important to talk to a healthcare professional, reach out to a naturopathic doctor, reach out to your medical doctor, make sure it's okay, because I just want everyone to be their healthiest self and I don't want to be giving misguided information. So that's what I did with my supplements. And I would say that was pretty low requirement. Like I didn't do a ton of things for supplements because supplements are helpful, but they are not the end all be all. Another thing that I did, and sometimes people don't think about this, is scents or scented products, detergents can be triggers for acne. They can make acne worse. They can have pore clogging ingredients. And while it doesn't impact everyone, it is something that people don't always think about. And so I try to use as much natural and scent-free detergents as possible, as well as washing my pillows more frequently and using silk pillowcases, because silk pillowcases don't hold bacteria the same way. They're better with your hair, your skin. And so I still continue to use those. And I do think that makes a big difference, but trying to be mindful of how often I'm actually washing those sheets as well and what I'm washing them with, because that can be a big contributor that people just do not think about. It is very sneaky, but scented products and non-natural ingredients can clog pores and just make acne worse. And then the next step in my journey was helping my body through its detoxification process. And I did that through saunas. So I was trying to sauna 2 to 3 times a week to really help my body with that detox process. It wasn't like doing a juice cleanse or detoxing. It was helping support my body in its detox journey, which can be done via saunas. And I also wanted to really help with stress reduction methods, and saunas can also help with reducing stress. And I was pairing that with cold therapy through cold showers as often as possible, always after a sauna especially, but not when I was menstruating because that can make cramps worse. And also doing my cold plunges when possible. Since I was away at school last year, it was a little bit harder to do cold plunges, but when I'm back home, and since I've been back home, I'm doing them a lot more, especially this past month or so. And that has been incredibly helpful because it helps my body through the stress cycle in a really positive and safe way. And so I totally encourage looking into doing cold plunging and cold therapy and sauna therapy to help your nervous system. I preach it all the time. I just think it's so important, and I would love to do a full episode on that. Okay, and then the last couple of things that I'm going to talk about, and probably some of my favorite, was one, I have a blue light face mask. So I was using blue light because blue light can actually help with the bacteria that causes acne. And so I was using blue light to help with my acne breakouts. But then my favorite, and I talk about red light all the time, is red light. I love red light for so many reasons, but I think it has been incredibly helpful for my skin care, my skin acne journey. Not only for healing afterwards, but for in the moment with acne breakouts. It can help with the inflammation that you're dealing with. It reduces inflammation. And then it also helps with the scarring. And I think it has been a huge contributor to why I am not seeing the amount of scarring I was seeing before. I have been using red light before bed almost every single night for over a year now. And I truly think that it has made such a big difference in my everyday skin. Again, I see such a difference in the acne scarring that I am dealing with. Again, if you can see on the video here, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see that I have like minimal acne scarring. You can see a little bit of here, and especially post microneedling the other day, it's definitely been a little bit more breaky outy. And I think that that's not a word, but I think I have dealt with some breakouts a little bit post microneedling because that can happen. But overall, like my acne scarring is very, very minimal compared to 6 months ago. And red light can help with the regeneration of mitochondria and the cells in the skin. And it can just reduce signs of aging, signs of inflammation, scarring. It is beautiful. It is like the sun. I think the summer sun was very helpful, getting that vitamin D and just helping with the regeneration of collagen in my skin. All of that has been a huge contributor to why I don't have the same amount of acne scarring. And I truly think it's just going to continue to get better. Sometimes you don't notice the difference until you take a look back at old videos or pictures or whatever. And it is wild how much of a difference it makes. And as I am nearing towards my wedding in a year and a half, I want to do the best I can to support my skin. Obviously, I'm going to have my makeup done for the day, but I want to support my skin as much as possible so that I can have the most natural glowing look for that day and just feel so confident in my skin. So that is definitely a goal for me. But yeah, all of these have been incredibly helpful for my acne journey. And I am so excited to share it with you guys. I have been waiting to do this for over a year. I wanted to talk about it, but I just didn't really have any solutions for the longest time. And so I didn't really want to talk about things that didn't work for me. I wanted to find what actually worked for me to see if you could find some support with that. And while not all of these are accessible to everyone, you can go online, you can get small red lights, you can get face masks with the blue light and red light that are on the cheaper end compared to some of the other things. Microneedling can be expensive, so I totally understand it's not accessible to everyone, and it's not a must, but if it is something that you can access, that you can afford, I would recommend doing it because it did make such a big difference for me. But again, everyone is so different. Make sure you get assessed properly. Make sure you're talking to healthcare practitioners that are licensed and able to help you in these areas. Don't take random supplements for no reason. Be mindful of the food you're consuming. Take care of yourself and your stress. Stress is such a huge reason for acne breakouts. It can make things worse because stress causes inflammation in the body and cortisol, and that just wreaks havoc in your body and your gut. Everything is manifested in the skin on the outside that is happening on the inside. And so there are just so many different things, and I'm so excited to, now I've been through this journey, and I don't know, it might come back. It's always possible that I might have another acne breakout. I have a long life ahead of me, but now I have more of an idea of things that help me, things that supported me. And I think that is just the best thing, is having these tools in your toolkit. It's like anxiety. While I might not fully eradicate my anxiety forever, I want to minimize the amount of anxiety that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And if I can do that, then I feel more confident in myself. And when it does happen, when it does come up, I have the tools in my toolkit to actually deal with it. And so those are what really work and resonate for me. And I hope that this resonated with you guys and that you guys can find solutions too. But I would love to talk to you guys on Instagram. You can reach out to me at Naturally Kirsten and we can have some conversations. I would love to do a course in the near future, as well as I would love to see you guys as patients in the future. I'm not fully licensed yet, but I'm hoping to be licensed by May. If you're interested in getting on my wait list for when I am ready to see patients, you can hit me up and I can send you my email list that I'm currently building. And I'm really excited for the future and to help so many of you. And I hope this video was helpful in general. And I hope this podcast was helpful in general. Sorry, I'm doing both video and the podcast. So this is new for me, but I'm really excited to be able to incorporate some video. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please reach out to me. Make sure to rate this podcast. It does help so much, and leave a review as well. That is also so helpful and so appreciated. And follow me on Instagram at Naturally Kirsten and at Healing With It Podcast.